The desert stretched endlessly, a golden ocean of silence under the bright sun. Waves of sand shimmered in the heat, and the ruins of an ancient kingdom lay half-buried, fighting against time. Among broken stones and fallen statues stood a group of archaeologists, brushing away sand, carefully recording every detail. At the center of the excavation rose a broken throne, carved from black stone. It had survived countless centuries, and even though its edges were worn and cracked, the carvings were still sharp enough to be seen. Strange patterns decorated the throne, unlike any other symbols found in the surrounding ruins. Scholars had argued for decades about their meaning, yet none could explain why the single throne was untouched while the temple around it crumbled. Dr. Amir, leader of the expedition, stood before the throne. His eyes followed the carvings carefully. He had studied pyramids, tombs, and artifacts his whole life, but this throne was different. It gave him a feeling that he could not describe. The desert wind blew across the ruins, carrying whispers that seemed almost alive. "Strange," whispered one of the younger archaeologists, Hannah, as she dusted the steps in front of the throne. "The sand feels hollow here." Amir knelt beside her and tapped the ground. The sound was not of solid stone but of something beneath, as if the earth itself was hiding a secret chamber. His heart began to race. Many tombs had secret passages, but the throne was never considered part of them. This discovery could change everything. "Careful," Amir said. "We will clear this slowly." The team worked together, removing sand and broken stone. Hours passed, and as the sun began to set, the hidden shape of a large stone slab appeared beneath the throne. It was smooth, made of a darker material than the surrounding rocks. Unlike the sandstone of the temple, this slab seemed harder, colder, almost metallic. The team gathered around it. "It looks like a door," Hannah said, her voice filled with awe. Amir touched the surface. To his surprise, it was not hot from the sun. It felt cool, as if untouched by the desert heat. He traced the edges with his hand and noticed tiny lines carved into it, forming patterns similar to the ones on the throne. "Not just a door," Amir whispered. "A gate." Night fell over the desert, but the team could not stop. Lanterns were lit, casting long shadows across the ruins. The air grew cooler, and the whispers of the desert grew stronger, almost as if the sand itself was speaking. The workers tried tools to lift the slab, but none could move it. It was as if the gate was fused to the earth. Frustration grew, but Amir remained calm. He believed history had always hidden its treasures behind patience. Hannah studied the carvings again. "These marks, they look like a sequence," she said. "Perhaps they are not decoration. Perhaps they are instructions." The team began to experiment, tracing their fingers across the symbols in different orders. For a long time, nothing happened. But then, when Amir pressed his palm against the central pattern, the slab trembled beneath them. A low sound echoed through the ruins, deep and ancient, like the heartbeat of the earth. Everyone froze. The lanterns flickered. The ground shook lightly, and grains of sand danced around their feet. Slowly, lines of faint blue light spread across the carvings, glowing like rivers of fire under the stone. The throne itself vibrated, dust falling from its cracks. The workers stepped back in fear, but Amir stood still, his hand still on the glowing symbol. "It is responding," he said, his voice unsteady but filled with wonder. The glow grew brighter, tracing every line of the carvings until the entire gate shined like the night sky. Then, with a sound like thunder rolling underground, the slab began to move. Sand slid away as the gate sank downward, revealing a staircase spiraling into darkness. The air that rose from below was cool and dry, untouched for thousands of years. A silence heavier than the desert itself filled the ruins, and every heart beat faster. "What is this place?" Hannah whispered. Amir stared at the staircase, his face pale yet determined. "It is not a tomb," he said. It is something else. The team lowered a lantern into the passage, and its light revealed walls smooth as glass, shining faintly with the same patterns they had seen above. This was no ordinary chamber built by human hands. It was older, stranger, and it was waiting. Some of the workers hesitated. Fear of curses and old legends filled their minds. They murmured among themselves, unsure if it was wise to go further. The desert was full of stories of hidden dangers and spirits guarding forgotten kings. But Amir's voice cut through their doubts. History does not belong to those who fear. We must see what lies below. Perhaps it is the greatest discovery of our time. One by one, the team agreed. Rope was tied, and the first lantern was lowered further down the staircase. The light disappeared into the shadows, swallowed by the unknown depth. Before they entered, Amir looked back at the throne. Its dark stone now glowed faintly with blue light, as if alive. For centuries, travelers had passed this place, unaware of what rested beneath their feet. But now the secret was awake. The desert wind howled, carrying a strange sound that almost resembled a voice. To the workers, it was only the shifting of dunes. But to Amir, it felt like a whisper calling him forward. He took the first step down, his lantern swinging at his side. The air grew cooler with each step, and the glow on the walls guided them deeper. The sound of their footsteps echoed strangely, as if the chamber itself was listening. The team followed him into the darkness, leaving the desert night behind. Above, the stars watched silently, while below, a secret long hidden prepared to reveal itself. For centuries the throne had stood alone, guarding something no one dared to imagine. And now, for the first time in history, the secret vault beneath Pharaoh's throne had been opened. The staircase stretched downward, twisting into the earth. Each step echoed under the archaeologists' boots as they carried their lanterns carefully. The walls glowed faintly with blue lines, guiding their path. The deeper they went, the more the air changed. It no longer smelled of sand and dust but of something cleaner, sharper, like air sealed away for centuries. Dr. Amir led the way, holding his lantern high. Hannah followed close behind, her eyes scanning every mark on the wall. The other members of the team moved cautiously, their excitement mixed with unease. They had all studied ancient ruins before, but nothing compared to this. This place felt alive. The staircase ended in a wide platform. Before them stood another structure, a massive door that reached higher than any man. It was made of a strange metal that shone faintly in the lantern light. Unlike the rough stones above, this surface was smooth and seamless, as though carved by something beyond human tools. The door was decorated with the same patterns seen on the throne, but here they were larger, sharper, and glowing with blue light. The carvings were not just symbols. They seemed to move slowly, shifting shapes as if they were alive. The team stopped in silence. None dared to speak for several moments. The air felt heavy, as if the chamber itself was watching them. Hannah finally broke the silence. "This is not Egyptian. It cannot be. No tools of that time could make this." Amir nodded, his eyes fixed on the glowing surface. "I believe this was here long before the temple above was built. The throne may have been placed to guard it, but this vault belongs to something older." One of the younger archaeologists, Karim, stepped forward nervously. "If it is older than the pharaohs, then who made it?" Amir touched the surface of the door. It was cold, almost icy, though they were deep underground. His fingertips tingled, as if energy moved beneath the surface. "That is what we are here to discover." The team unpacked their equipment, setting lanterns along the platform to light the chamber. Shadows stretched across the walls, flickering with each movement. Tools were prepared to study the door, but it was clear this was no ordinary barrier. They tried their usual methods first. Small chisels tapped lightly, but the surface did not scratch. A steel hammer made no mark. Even when they applied heat from a small torch, the metal remained unchanged, as if it ignored every attempt. Hannah studied the carvings carefully. These shapes are not random. Look here. She pointed to a spiral pattern near the center of the door. This is repeated in several places, like instructions. Amir joined her, tracing the shapes with his eyes. Yes, and notice how the glow moves when you follow the sequence. It brightens slightly, almost as if it responds to touch. They experimented carefully. Amir pressed his palm against the spiral, then touched another symbol below it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the glow around those two shapes grew stronger. The lines of light pulsed slowly, like the beat of a heart. The team gasped. The chamber vibrated faintly, though the door did not move. It is a mechanism, Hannah said softly. But it does not work with tools. It works with us. Amir's expression grew thoughtful. Perhaps that is why the throne was built above. Only those who dared to seek and endure the desert could find this place. The Pharaoh may not have created this vault, but he understood its importance. The team continued experimenting, trying different sequences. Each time, the door glowed brighter, as if responding to their efforts. Yet no one could find the final step to open it. Hours passed, and exhaustion grew, but Amir would not allow them to stop. He knew they were close. At last, when Amir pressed his hand against the central spiral once more, something changed. The door pulsed with light so bright that the lantern seemed weak beside it. A deep sound echoed through the chamber, low and powerful, like the voice of the earth itself. The archaeologists stumbled back in fear, shielding their eyes from the glow. The ground shook under their feet. Slowly, the seamless surface of the door split down the middle, revealing a thin line of darkness. The door opened. Cold air rushed out, so sharp it made their skin prickle. A mist spread across the floor, curling around their boots. The chamber beyond was vast and silent, lit by the same glowing lines that marked the walls. Amir stepped forward first, his lantern held high. His heart raced, but his steps were steady. He had dreamed his entire life of a discovery that would change history. Now he felt certain this was it. Inside the vault, the walls stretched upward into shadows too high to see. Strange shapes filled the space: tall pillars of crystal, smooth machines of metal, and structures that looked like both art and technology. The air hummed softly, as though the vault itself breathed. The team followed slowly, their eyes wide. No one spoke. They knew that words could not match what they were seeing. Hannah ran her hand across one of the crystal pillars. It glowed faintly at her touch, sending lines of light racing across its surface. She gasped and stepped back. The glow faded when she moved away. "This place responds to us," she whispered. "It feels aware." Amir nodded, though his gaze remained on the largest structure at the center of the chamber. It was a tall frame of metal and crystal, shaped almost like a throne, but far more complex. Symbols glowed across its surface, shifting like water. "This is the heart of the vault," he said. "And it has been waiting." The team gathered around it, unsure whether to touch it or not. Every instinct warned them that this was something far greater than a tomb or a treasure. Suddenly, the blue lines along the chamber walls pulsed brighter, then dimmed again. A faint hum grew louder, filling the air like a song without words. The vault was not silent anymore. The archaeologists exchanged uneasy looks. Some whispered prayers, others held their lanterns tighter. But Amir's face showed only determination. "We came here for knowledge," he said firmly. "And knowledge is what we shall find." The team stood together, gazing at the strange throne-like structure at the center of the vault. They had uncovered the hidden door, and beyond it lay something greater than they had ever imagined. The desert above slept in silence, unaware that deep beneath its sands, a secret older than kings had awakened once more. The vault stretched into darkness, yet it was not empty. As the archaeologists stepped deeper, Their lanterns revealed rows of strange structures standing in silence. Some were tall, shaped like towers of crystal, while others were metallic frames filled with patterns that resembled both machines and statues. The chamber seemed to go on without end, and every step made the air hum faintly, as if the place was alive. Dr. Amir led the group carefully, his eyes moving from one mysterious structure to another. Each object seemed perfectly preserved, untouched by time. No dust lay upon them, no cracks marked their surfaces. It was as if the vault had been sealed yesterday, waiting for this very moment to be opened. "This is not a tomb," Amir whispered, though his voice carried in the vast space. "It is something far greater." Hannah moved beside one of the crystal towers. It stood taller than two men, its surface smooth and shining. She raised her hand carefully and touched it. At her touch, faint lines of blue light appeared, racing across the crystal like veins of fire. A soft vibration ran through the ground beneath her feet, and then, just as quickly, the light faded. She stepped back, her eyes wide. "It responds," she said. "It feels like it is waiting for something." The others gathered around, whispering nervously. Some believed it was a storage hall, others thought it was a temple built by a forgotten people. But deep inside, Amir knew they were standing in a place far older than any human kingdom. They moved forward, their lanterns casting flickering shadows against the strange machines. Some appeared shaped like chests or containers, yet their surfaces were sealed with no sign of hinges or openings. Others looked like long tables, but their tops glowed faintly with shifting patterns, as if messages were written there in a language no one could read. The team stopped before the largest structure in the chamber. It was a circular platform raised above the ground, surrounded by tall frames of metal and crystal. At its center rested something that looked almost like a throne, though far more complex. The seat was carved from the same dark metal as the door above, while lines of light ran across its surface. Around it were rings of crystal pillars, all dark and silent. Amir stepped closer, his lantern shining upon the strange throne. His breath caught in his chest. "This is the heart of the vault," he said softly. "Everything leads to this." The others formed a circle around him. Hannah's eyes searched the carvings on the throne. "These are the same markings we saw above," she said. "But here, they are brighter. Stronger. Perhaps this is the key to all of it?" One of the younger archaeologists, Karim, shook his head. His voice trembled with unease. "We should not touch it. This place feels dangerous. It was sealed for a reason." Amir looked at him firmly. "Every discovery feels dangerous at first. But knowledge is never truly dangerous. What we choose to do with it is what matters." Despite his brave words, Amir felt his heart racing. The air around the throne seemed heavier, filled with a quiet power. He stretched his hand forward slowly and pressed his palm against one of the glowing lines. The chamber responded instantly. Blue light shot across the floor, racing through the carvings in the ground and climbing the walls like rivers of fire. The crystal towers awoke, glowing brightly as energy pulsed inside them. The hum in the air grew louder, no longer faint but steady, like the beat of a drum. The archaeologists stumbled back in shock, shielding their eyes from the brightness. The vault was alive again. The strange machines around them began to shift. Metallic frames opened slowly, releasing clouds of cool mist. Within some of them rested long, smooth objects, shaped almost like capsules. The crystals pulsed with light, sending beams into the air that connected with the throne at the center. Hannah gasped as she pointed. "Look. They are all linked to it. Everything in this chamber is connected to that seat." Amir's voice trembled with awe. "This is not a tomb. It is a machine. A machine of impossible scale." The humming sound deepened, and suddenly, a new noise filled the chamber. A voice, neither male nor female, echoed through the air. It spoke in a language none of them understood, flowing like water yet carrying strength like thunder. The archaeologists froze. Though the words were unknown, the tone felt clear. The vault was speaking. Amir's hands shook as he reached for his notebook. He scribbled symbols quickly, trying to capture the patterns of sound. "It is a language," he said breathlessly. "A message left for someone. Perhaps for us." The glowing throne pulsed brighter, and the crystal towers sent waves of light across the chamber. For a brief moment, images filled the air above the throne, made of pure light. The team watched in silence as visions unfolded: strange worlds, stars burning in the sky, ships that sailed across space, and civilizations rising and falling like waves in the ocean of time. The archaeologists stood frozen, their hearts pounding. They were not just looking at history. They were looking at memories far older than humanity itself. The vision ended as suddenly as it began. The lights faded slightly, leaving the chamber glowing softly once more. The hum continued, steady and calm, as if the vault was still awake but resting. Hannah's voice shook as she spoke. "What was that? Were those stars? Ships? Entire worlds?" Amir's face was pale, yet his eyes burned with fire. "Yes," he whispered. "We are not the first. This vault does not belong to Earth alone. It is part of something far greater, something across the stars." The team stood in silence, each of them realizing the same truth. The throne was not meant for kings of stone and sand. It was a key, perhaps even a weapon, left hidden beneath the desert for a time when it would be needed again. The sleeping machines had awakened, and with them, a message had been delivered. Humanity was no longer just looking at its past. It had stepped into the doorway of something far larger, a story written across the galaxy. Amir looked around the chamber, his hands trembling but his voice steady. "We must learn its purpose. We must understand why it was hidden beneath a pharaoh's throne. This is not the end of our journey. It is only the beginning." The archaeologists exchanged uneasy glances, but none argued. They all felt the same truth. The vault had been waiting, and now it had chosen them. Above, the desert night was silent. But beneath the sands, the machines of a forgotten age had begun to stir, their voices whispering once again in the language of the stars. The vault was no longer silent. The glow of the crystals lit the walls with shifting light, and the strange hum filled the chamber like a heartbeat. The archaeologists stood in awe, their lanterns now useless against the brilliance of the machines. Every shape, every pillar, every carving seemed alive, as if they had all been waiting for this moment. Dr. Amir stood near the throne-like structure at the center. His hands still tingled from the energy he had felt earlier. He wanted to step back, but something in his heart urged him to stay. The vault had responded to him. It had opened because of him. That thought filled him with both pride and fear. Hannah approached carefully, her eyes locked on the glowing throne. "Do you feel it too?" she asked softly. "Yes," Amir replied, his voice steady but quiet. "It is as if the vault recognizes us." Before they could say more, a sudden sound broke through the hum. It was sharp, metallic, and deep. One of the crystal towers shifted, its surface glowing brighter. A section of the chamber wall opened slowly, revealing a hidden alcove. From the darkness within, a figure began to emerge. The archaeologists stepped back at once. Some raised their lanterns in fear, though the vault was already glowing brightly. Out of the alcove came a tall sentinel. Its body was made of shining metal, its shape both human-like and inhuman at once. Its arms were long, its shoulders broad, and its head was smooth and featureless except for a single line of blue light that glowed where eyes might have been. The sentinel stepped onto the floor with a sound like thunder. Each movement was slow but powerful, as if it carried the weight of ages. It turned its glowing gaze toward the group, scanning them silently. "Stay calm," Amir said quickly, raising his hand to steady his team. His heart pounded in his chest, but he forced his voice to remain firm. This is not an enemy. Not yet. The sentinel's chest glowed faintly. Strange symbols flickered across its body, the same language they had seen in the visions. The archaeologists froze, unsure whether to run or stand their ground. Then the sentinel raised its arm. A beam of blue light spread out, washing over the group like a wave. It was not painful, but it was powerful. Each of them felt it pass through their bodies, as though they were being weighed, measured, and judged. Hannah gasped. Karim dropped his lantern, which clattered loudly against the stone. For a moment, the chamber was filled only with the sound of the humming machines and the sharp breaths of the humans. Then, something unexpected happened. The sentinel lowered its arm and stopped moving. The line of light across its head shifted, brightening as it focused on Amir. The chamber grew quieter, as though the machines themselves were waiting. Amir felt a strange pull, like invisible hands urging him forward. He stepped closer to the sentinel, his own fear melting into curiosity. The sentinel did not attack. Instead, it bent slightly, almost like a bow. The archaeologists gasped in shock. Hannah whispered, "It recognizes you." Amir's chest tightened. "Not me alone," he said slowly. "It recognizes us. Humans." The sentinel straightened and spoke. Its voice was deep and mechanical, yet it carried a strange rhythm, almost like music. The words were not in any language they knew, but as it spoke, the carvings on the walls glowed brighter, and the vision from earlier returned for a brief moment. Stars, ships, and distant worlds filled the air again, painting the chamber with light. This time, however, the vision was clearer. They saw not only worlds but also battles. Great machines clashed in the skies, cities burned, and civilizations crumbled. The archaeologists stared in silence as the images unfolded. Then the vision ended, leaving only the glowing sentinel before them. Amir turned to his team. "It is showing us history. Perhaps a warning." The sentinel took another step forward. It extended its hand toward Amir, palm open. For a moment, Amir hesitated. Then he slowly raised his own hand and placed it against the cold metal. The moment their hands touched, the chamber erupted with light. A rush of images filled Amir's mind. He saw the same battles, but he also saw Earth, its deserts, its oceans, its mountains. He saw the throne above the vault being placed by ancient builders who bowed to a presence unseen. He saw generations pass as the vault waited, hidden, until the day it would awaken again. Amir gasped and staggered back, breaking the contact. His chest rose and fell quickly, but his eyes were wide with wonder. "What did you see?" Hannah asked urgently. Amir looked at her, his voice trembling. "This vault was not made by humans. But it was meant for us. The sentinel is a guardian, waiting for the right hands to awaken it. And those hands are ours." The team stood in stunned silence. Some whispered in disbelief, others simply stared at the sentinel. Karim finally spoke, his voice low. "Why us? Why humanity?" Amir shook his head. "I do not know. But the Pharaoh must have known something. He built his throne above this vault not to claim it, but to protect it. Perhaps he believed one day his people's descendants would be ready to find it." The sentinel remained still, its glowing line focused on the humans. It made no move to harm them. Instead, it lowered its arm and stood beside the throne, as if guarding it. The chamber's hum softened, settling into a steady rhythm. The machines were awake now, but they were not in battle. They were in waiting. Amir's heart pounded with a mixture of fear and hope. This is not just an artifact. It is a responsibility. We must learn what this vault holds, because whatever destroyed those other worlds may still exist. The archaeologists exchanged uneasy glances, but none disagreed. They all felt the same weight pressing upon them. The sentinel was not just a guardian of the vault. It was a guardian of a legacy that now rested in human hands. As they stood in silence, the desert above remained unchanged. The stars shone, the sands shifted, and the night wind whispered across the ruins. But beneath the throne of a forgotten pharaoh, a guardian of metal and light had awakened, and it had chosen not to destroy, but to bow. And in that simple act, humanity's place in the vault was sealed forever. The sentinel stood motionless beside the glowing throne, its tall frame shining faintly in the vault's blue light. The archaeologists gathered close to Dr. Amir, their eyes still fixed on the guardian. None of them dared to speak loudly, as if a single word might break the fragile silence. Amir kept his gaze on the throne. His mind was racing with the visions he had seen when he touched the sentinel's hand. Images of burning skies, destroyed cities, and entire worlds collapsing weighed heavily on him. He had uncovered many secrets in his life, but never one so vast and frightening. Hannah finally broke the silence. "You said it was meant for us. What does that mean? Why would something so old wait for humans?" Amir took a deep breath. "Because we are connected to it. Somehow, our kind was chosen. I do not know if it was chance, destiny, or design. But I saw the vault's memory. It showed me Earth. It showed me our deserts and seas. This place was hidden here because one day, humans would awaken it." The others looked around the chamber uneasily. The glowing machines hummed softly, like a choir of voices whispering from far away. Kareem frowned. "If it is meant for us, then what are we supposed to do? We are not warriors. We are not kings. We are only scholars." Amir stepped toward the throne, his voice calm but firm. "Perhaps we are not meant to fight, but to remember. This place is not only a vault. It is a message." He turned back to the sentinel. "Show us again," Amir said quietly, though he did not know if the guardian could understand him. The sentinel's glowing line pulsed once, then slowly raised its hand. A wave of blue light spread across the chamber. The walls lit up brighter than before, and once again, visions filled the air. The archaeologists gasped as the chamber was painted with images. Stars stretched across the space, whole galaxies turning like wheels of fire. Then the vision changed. A world appeared, lush and green, filled with tall spires and shining towers. Its people, elegant and strange, moved among gardens of light. But then came the darkness. A shadow fell over the planet, and great shapes descended from the skies. The towers burned, the seas boiled, and the world was broken. The vision shifted again. Another world appeared, this one with oceans and floating cities. Its people had wings like birds, and they soared above their shining homes. But the shadow came once more. Their skies filled with fire, and the cities fell into the waves. One after another, the visions showed the same story. Civilizations rose, built wonders, and thrived, only to be destroyed by the same unstoppable force. The archaeologists watched in silence, their faces pale in the blue glow. Finally, the vision changed to Earth. The deserts appeared, endless and golden, with the pyramid above the vault standing tall and new. The throne above was shown being placed by human hands, while the vault glowed beneath. The image lingered, as if to say, "Here is where the story continues." Then the light faded. The chamber dimmed back to its steady hum, and the sentinel lowered its arm. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Hannah's voice shook as she whispered, "All of them, gone. Entire worlds destroyed. And the same darkness waits somewhere out there." Kareem sat on the cold floor, his hands trembling. "If it could destroy them, what chance do we have? We are nothing compared to those civilizations." Amir's eyes burned with determination. "Perhaps we are not like them. Perhaps that is why the vault was left for us. The others built empires of beauty and strength, but maybe they lack something. We may not be the most advanced, but we endure. We struggle. We rise even when the world tries to break us." Hannah looked at him, her eyes filled with both fear and hope. You think that is what makes us different? Yes, Amir said firmly. This vault was hidden for thousands of years, and yet humanity kept searching, kept uncovering, kept pushing forward. That is why it opened to us. The warning is clear, a great danger moves across the stars. But so is the trust placed in us. We are not meant to run. We are meant to prepare. The archaeologists fell silent, each lost in thought. The hum of the machine seemed louder now, as though the vault itself agreed with Amir's words. After a long pause, Hannah stepped closer to the throne. She placed her hand lightly on its surface. If this was left for us, then we cannot keep it hidden. The world must know. We cannot face something like that alone. Amir nodded slowly. Yes. But we must be careful. The world is not ready to understand all of this at once. Knowledge must be shared wisely. If used wrongly, these machines could be more dangerous than the enemy itself. The sentinel turned its head slightly, its glowing line moving across the group. It did not speak, but the motion felt almost like agreement. Karim stood, still pale but steadier than before. So we are guardians now. Just like the Pharaoh who protected this vault. We are chosen, not by power, but by duty. Amir smiled faintly. Exactly. The Pharaoh built his throne above this place not to claim it, but to guard it. And now, that duty falls to us. The team stood together in the glow of the vault, no longer just archaeologists searching for lost history. They had uncovered something greater than treasure, greater than knowledge. They had uncovered a warning meant for all of humanity. Above them, the desert sands lay quiet, as if unaware of the secret that stirred below. But deep within the earth, the vault's machines pulsed with light, alive once more. The warning had been delivered, and humanity had heard it. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Amir looked back one last time at the throne and the sentinel beside it. He felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders, heavier than any stone. Yet within that weight was also hope. We will not fail, he whispered to himself. If the stars test us, humanity will endure. The sentinel's light flickered softly, as if it understood. And so the archaeologists climbed back toward the surface, carrying with them not only the memory of what they had seen, but also the burden of a cosmic warning. A warning that humanity, for reasons still unknown, had been chosen to bear. The night above the desert was calm. Stars glittered in the sky, and the sands stretched endlessly in silence. The ruins of the ancient temple stood like shadows of forgotten time. No one passing through the desert would imagine that deep beneath those ruins, a vault older than kings had awakened. The archaeologists returned to their camp with tired faces and restless hearts. None of them could sleep. Their minds were filled with visions of burning worlds and civilizations erased. The vault's warning echoed in their thoughts. They sat around a small fire, speaking in low voices, afraid that even the desert wind might carry their secrets away. We cannot tell the world everything, Hannah said firmly. If governments hear of this, they will fight over it. They will see only weapons, not warnings. Karim nodded. But if we hide it, then no one will prepare. We cannot face what is coming alone. Dr. Amir listened quietly, his eyes fixed on the flames. He understood both sides. Humanity had always struggled with knowledge. Wisdom could unite, but it could also divide. Yet even as they debated, Amir felt something heavier pressing on his thoughts. The vault had not only awakened for them. Its signal had gone farther than the desert. He could feel it, though he had no proof. He finally spoke, his voice calm but steady. The vault did not just show us the past. When it opened, it sent out a signal. I am certain of it. Somewhere beyond our world, someone or something has noticed. The enemy that destroyed those civilizations may already know we exist. Silence fell over the group. The fire crackled, but no one moved. Then we are in danger, Hannah whispered. Yes, Amir said. The warning was not only for us. It was also a call. The vault has awakened after thousands of years, and the shadows among the stars may be listening. At that very moment, far beyond Earth, in the cold darkness between stars, something stirred. A fleet of silent vessels drifted through space. Their shapes were vast and sharp, built not for beauty but for conquest. For centuries, they had wandered, seeking signals of awakening vaults across the galaxy. They fed on civilizations that dared to rise, leaving ruins behind. Now, their long instruments caught the faint trace of Earth's vault. A pulse, weak but clear, reached their sensors. One of the vessels shifted its course. Others followed. Slowly, the fleet began to move toward a small, blue planet orbiting an ordinary star. On Earth, the archaeologists knew nothing of the approaching danger, but strange signs soon began to appear. 2 nights later, while the team studied their notes, Hannah noticed something unusual. Look at the readings from our instruments, she said. She showed Amir a device that had been left near the ruins. The lines on its screen jumped wildly. It is detecting energy outside the normal range. The vault is still active, even though we left it? Amir frowned. The machines may be calling to something. Or perhaps, something is answering. Later that week, strange lights were seen in the desert sky. Bright shapes moved silently above the sands, faster than any aircraft. The workers whispered in fear, believing old spirits had awakened. But Amir and Hannah exchanged worried looks. They knew these lights were no spirits. They were watchers. Back at the vault, the sentinel remained standing beside the throne, patient and silent. But its glowing line shifted whenever the strange lights passed above the desert. It was not afraid, but alert, as if waiting for an enemy it had once known. Amir decided they needed to go back inside. With his team, he descended the staircase once again, carrying stronger lights and more instruments. The chamber glowed as before, but this time, the hum was louder. The machine seemed restless. The sentinel stepped forward when Amir approached. It raised its hand, and blue light spread across the chamber again. This time, the vision was shorter but clearer. A dark fleet, sharp and endless, moved through the stars. The vault was showing them not the past, but the present. Hannah gasped. They are coming. Amir's jaw tightened. Yes. The vault's awakening has drawn them. The enemy has heard the call. The archaeologists stood in silence, the weight of fear pressing on their shoulders. They had thought they were only explorers of history. Now they were witnesses to a war older than humanity itself. Kareem's voice trembled. We should leave. Seal the vault again. If they come and find nothing, maybe they will turn away. Amir shook his head. No. We cannot run from this. The vault was left for humanity, not for hiding. If we abandon it, we abandon our duty. The sentinel moved suddenly. It pointed to the throne, its glowing line flashing brighter. The message was clear, the throne was the key. The machines had chosen humanity, but they also demanded action. Amir placed his hand on the throne again. A surge of light filled the chamber, and the machines stirred louder than before. The crystal towers pulsed, sending waves of energy across the chamber. For a moment, Amir saw not only stars but also shapes of weapons, shields, and strange machines of war. The vault was showing them tools, perhaps gifts that could help in the battles to come. Amir pulled his hand away, breathing heavily. It is offering us knowledge. It wants us to fight, not hide. The team exchanged fearful looks. None of them were soldiers. None of them had ever imagined standing against a force that destroyed entire worlds. Yet here they were, chosen not by power but by circumstance. Above the desert, the strange lights in the sky grew more frequent. The watchers were closer now, circling silently above the ruins. The archaeologists felt the pressure of time. The enemy was not here yet, but it was coming, and every passing night brought it nearer. As the team left the vault once more, Amir looked back at the sentinel. The guardian remained at its post, still and patient, but its light was brighter than before. It was waiting for the storm that would soon break across Earth. Amir whispered to himself, though the others heard him. The enemy stirs among the stars. But so do we. Humanity will not bow quietly. If they come, they will find us ready. The desert wind blew softly across the sands. Far above, the stars glittered, unaware of the battle that was drawing closer. Yet beneath the throne of a forgotten pharaoh, the vault's machines prepared to awaken fully. Humanity's test was near. The desert was quiet at dawn. Golden light stretched across the dunes, painting the land in soft colors. Yet beneath this calm surface, the archaeologists knew that great shadows were moving closer from the depths of space. The vault's visions had shown them clearly, the enemy was on its way. Dr. Amir stood at the edge of the ruins, watching the rising sun. Behind him, Hannah and Karim checked their equipment. They had barely slept. Each night, the strange lights in the sky appeared again, circling silently above the desert. The watchers grew bolder, coming lower, as if searching for the vault. Amir turned to his team. This is no longer only about us. The vault has awakened, and now the whole world must prepare. If we keep this secret, humanity will be caught unready. But if we reveal it carelessly, the world may fight among itself instead of uniting. Hannah agreed. We must share the truth in a way that guides, not divides. The vault showed us knowledge, tools, even weapons. Humanity must be ready to use them together. Karim sighed. But how? We are only archaeologists. Who will listen to us when we speak of enemies from the stars? Amir looked back at the ruins, his expression firm. The vault itself will be our proof. The machines will speak louder than our words. That day, the team returned to the vault for the last time. The chamber was alive with light when they entered. The machines pulsed as though aware of their decision. The sentinel stood tall, waiting beside the throne. Its glowing line brightened when Amir stepped forward. I understand now, Amir said quietly, speaking to the guardian though he did not know if it could truly hear. You are not only a warning. You are a promise. The worlds before us were lost, but humanity has a chance to endure. You entrusted us with this because you believe we can rise where others fell. The sentinel raised its hand. A surge of light swept across the chamber, brighter than ever before. This time the vision showed not only destruction but also resistance. Human cities appeared, their skylines shining with towers. Above them, shields of light glowed, protecting the land from fire that rained from the skies. Fleets of human-built ships rose into space, defending Earth against the darkness. It was not the past or the present, it was a glimpse of what could be. The team gasped. Hannah's eyes widened. It is showing us our own future. What we could become if we accept this path. Amir felt hope stir within him. Yes. The vault is not a tomb. It is a beginning. The vision faded, and the chamber returned to its steady glow. The sentinel stepped back, its task done, while the throne pulsed with one last wave of energy. A beam of light shot upward, passing through the ceiling and rising into the desert sky. The vault had sent its final signal, not to call the enemy, but to awaken humanity. Above the sands, a column of blue light reached into the heavens, visible for miles. Villagers in the distance stopped their work to stare. Travelers on the desert roads looked upward in awe. Across the world, satellites recorded the strange glow rising from Egypt's heart. The signal had spoken, and Earth had heard. Back inside the chamber, the archaeologists stood in silence, realizing the weight of what had just happened. The vault had revealed itself to all of humanity. There would be no more secrets. Hannah placed her hand on Amir's shoulder. The world will come here now. Leaders, scientists, armies. This place will no longer belong to us alone. Amir nodded. That was always its purpose. We were only the first to open the door. Now the rest of humanity must walk through it. Karim looked uneasy. But will they unite? Or will they fight over this place? Amir's gaze was steady. That is the true test. The vault gave us knowledge, but it cannot give us wisdom. That must come from us. If we divide, we will fall like the others. But if we stand together, then the enemy will find us stronger than they expect. When the archaeologists finally left the vault, the desert was no longer silent. Vehicles were approaching from far away, drawn by the signal. The world was already answering the call. In the days that followed, news spread across every nation. The column of light, the strange machines, the guardian sentinel, all were revealed to governments and scientists. Debates filled the air, but beneath the noise was one shared truth: humanity was not alone, and danger was coming. The archaeologists became both guides and witnesses. They told the story of the vault, of the warning, of the civilizations lost, and of the future humanity could build. Some leaders argued for weapons. Others spoke of fear. But many saw the truth: survival would only come through unity. Meanwhile, far beyond Earth, the enemy fleet continued its approach. But this time, something was different. Their prey was no longer unaware. Their prey had awakened. On a quiet evening, Amir stood once more in the desert. The blue light had faded, but its memory remained in the sky. Hannah joined him, her voice calm. Do you think we can truly stand against them? Amir looked at the stars. Yes. Because for the first time, humanity is not walking blindly. We have been warned. We have been chosen. And we will not fall as others did. The wind carried their words across the sands. Behind them, the vault rested again, its machines silent, its guardian waiting. Its task was not yet over, but its first step had been completed. Humanity had heard the signal. Humanity had begun its path. Far above, the stars shone with quiet light, and though the enemy stirred among them, there was also a spark of hope. The vault beneath the Pharaoh's throne had given Earth not only a warning, but also a future. And so the story of humanity's greatest trial did not end in silence or ruin. It began here, in the desert, with a secret once buried in stone and sand. What came next would be written by the courage of humankind, as the last signal of the past became the first step toward survival among the stars.